So by the end of this episode, I want to have clearly clarified whether Taron sits in my number 2 or number 3 spot. Since our visit to Phantasialand, I've been very confused and I don't know which is better. I don't know whether Helix is better than Taron or whether Taron is better than Helix. So we need to clarify this, and that will be the aim of this podcast, as well as talk about Phantasialand, obviously.
This podcast is going to just be about our trip to Phantasialand, which we basically stayed in Cologne. Somebody asked Harry on Twitter, basically how we got there. So we'll tell you about that because it was pretty easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's relatively easy.
We stayed kind of in the middle of Cologne, I guess. Kind of just outside of it, but we could get around. They had trams everywhere, so that's how we got to the park, basically. It was a tram, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two ways to get to the park from kind of the city. Is to get a tram to one of the stations that is near the park, and then a bus picks you up from that station and takes you to the park. You know, that's a Phantasialand run bus. Or you get a train, not a tram, to a different station and the same bus picks you up. So this bus kind of goes from the train station, then to the tram station, then to the park. So if you head onto Phantasialand's website, it tells you all about this bus that takes you between the tram and train station and the park. It's €3 to go between the park and whatever station you want to go to. And yeah, it's relatively simple to get between the two. It was an early start, though, trying to get to the park for 9.
Yeah.
Because the park, weirdly, opens at 9, like other European parks do, but then the rides don't start until 10. So, naturally...
Of course, we got there at 9.
Yes, of course we did. Naturally, we wanted to maximise our time at the park. And I'd spoken to a few people before we went about what the best strategy was for the rides, you know, what ride we should go for first and how it all plays out. And people said that we should just beeline for Taron as soon as we get there, wait in the Taron queue line until the rides actually open, and then at least you've done Taron once at the very start of the day. So that's exactly what we did.
It didn't open till about 10:15 though, did it?
No, it didn't. So
that was fun.
Yeah, we were waiting for Taron for a good hour and 15 minutes before the park had opened, which, if you don't really care, then you could just walk around the park, and I'm sure that would have been cool to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were about 10th in line, and the queue stretched back all the way beyond the entrance to Klugheim, which is the area that Taron sits in. So we did well with the queue. We did pretty well.
Yeah.
And that was... We managed to find our way there as well, without any problems, really. The signposts around Phantasialand to go to the different areas are quite good. We went the wrong way, but then managed to fix that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. We met this guy called Chris on the way to Taron. And then after Taron, he kind of showed us around to the other bits of the park, so we knew where we were going because we didn't know where we were.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful. So thanks, Chris.
It was. Chris is a member on the Coasterbot Discord. So if you have Discord and would like to join the Coasterbot Discord, you go to discord.coasterbot.com and you can join there.
Talk to Chris.
Yeah, you can talk to Chris. But no, yeah, it was very handy to kind of get a quick sense of the park via Chris. You know, not having to find our own way around was helpful.
Saved us some time.
It did. And by the time, you know, that we'd split off, we had a good idea of how the park kind of worked at that point. So, yeah, it was good to have
an expert.
Yeah, it was good to have an expert, and it was good to talk to him for the hour that we needed to kill. So let's start off our thoughts of the park by going through the different roller coasters. And we're going to do this in kind of an order of how we like them, so like worst to best, roughly. Not precisely, but roughly. And the worst coaster at that park was by far Temple of the Night Hawk, which we really didn't see any point in.
No. Well, to be fair, I didn't even know what it was.
No. Well,
And then when I got on it, I was like, what's happening?
yeah. It was a ride that is just, well, it's a small family coaster that not small at all. It's a family coaster that sits in this massive shed, or warehouse, I should say, and has 3 lift hills, never ends, and it's just generally a bit boring.
It actually was really boring.
Yeah. The further you get into it, the worse it gets as well.
Yeah.
It's not like it peaks at the end. The worst bit is the final like third of the layout. So the theming is just wild.
Hilarious.
Yeah, because it got rethemed to try and fit with the area. It just doesn't fit in Fantasyland anymore.
To be fair to them, I liked the theming in the station of all. So basically, you walk into the station and it's completely different theme to like the whole rest of the thing. It's basically like a jungle, isn't it? So there's all plants on the ceiling, like kind of hanging down, and it looks cool, but it's just so random.
I don't even know what they're trying to go for now.
No, like what even is the theme?
It used to be space.
And now,
No idea.
okay.
Yep. But yeah, it's stupidly long. Like,
Yeah.
we have a coaster in the UK at Thorpe Park called X. X in itself is probably just about the right length, and it's about 3 times longer than X.
Yeah, I was about to say it only needs 1 lift hill.
Yeah, 1 lift hill, 2 at a max, you know.
Yeah.
But 3 is just stupid.
Hilarious.
It's too long. Probably takes up too much space. Just delete it. Just
Delete
get
it.
out of there.
Delete
There's no
it from
point.
your lives.
Yeah, it's not. It's just a waste of space. A park that needs space, Temple of the Nighthawk,
Yeah, that is
a
pretty
waste
crazy.
of space.
But there are people out there who love that ride, so no offense to them. We just don't see the point.
I offend. I ain't trying to offend them.
Yeah.
I just don't see any point in it.
Well, it's like, do you want that or do you want a better new ride?
Well, yeah,
Which one are you going to choose?
they should just rip it out.
Yeah.
After they're done with Fly, rip it out, put something else there, you know?
Yep.
But fortunately, Temple of the Nighthawk is the worst coaster by quite a distance, really. The others are much better in terms of both layout and theming.
Well, somebody actually asked us a question on Twitter about it. Christopher said, why is Temple of the Nighthawk the greatest themed coaster ever?
It's not. Simple as.
Yeah, good one.
It's just got nothing to it. It's so weird. It's such a weird coaster.
It is weird, isn't it?
The entrance to the ride and the queue line doesn't fit with the station, which doesn't fit with the kind of like theming around the first lift hill, which doesn't fit with the pure blackness of the ride.
Yeah.
It's all so jarring. None of it actually fits together. So, 10 out of 10.
Then we went on Ben 10.
Well, not in this order, but yeah, Ben 10. Ben 10 the ride.
Ben 10.
Known as Rake or however you meant to say that.
Rake.
The new for 2016 family coaster, which is a Vekoma boomerang coaster. Hence why Zoe says Ben 10.
It's pretty good though.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. They're fun little rides, and you know, for kiddie coasters, they get a lot done. So
Yeah.
the theming was really nice. Also, you know, interacting with Taron was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
When we were going backwards, Taron's track runs kind of alongside some of the parts of Rake's track, whatever. And we were going backwards while Taron was going forwards, and we were perfectly in sync, just next to each other. And that was very, very cool.
And Harry had a little fangirl session there.
I did.
He nearly cried with joy because it was happening.
It was very cool. It's just, I like it when things kind of
Yeah, it was cool.
do that. So, but yeah, no, theming was all good. It was
Solid kid ride.
Yeah, really solid kid ride. And another solid, I wouldn't say kid ride, but Colorado Adventure.
Not a kid ride? Are you joking?
Those Vekoma mine trains make me laugh.
It
They're
was
so funny.
mental.
I think what's weird about those is because the trains are so long, you can't profile the track to kind of
Yeah.
be correct for each section of the train. So if you're at the front, the track isn't, you know, it might not be banked enough for you. And if you, well, it might be banked too much for you, and if you're at the back, it's not banked enough.
Mm.
It's only kind of done for the middle. So it ends up being this ride that just throws you about.
It
And
was
even more so than others.
insane. I was actually like not even staying in my seat. I thought I was going to come out the seat.
Yeah, it did definitely throw you about a lot. Had some fun elements to it. There's quite a few tunnel sections, one quite prolonged tunnel section, which you just had no idea what you were doing. Plenty of near misses, plenty of lift hills, plenty of theming. There's some decent theming on there as well.
Yeah.
The queue line was alright. It's a good ride. I mean, we didn't think it was anything kind of special, but it's a ride that adds to the lineup quite well.
Yeah. If you're going to have one, that one's a pretty good one to have.
Yeah. And it can be a fun. I imagine, back row later on when it's really warmed up, it will definitely throw you about then. It's a nice long ride as well, so that's good.
And now we talk about your favourite invert.
Now we get into the meaty stuff, which is the big boy rides, kind of. Well, Black Mamba is a big boy ride, obviously.
Yes.
But this is where the spicy opinions start, just because neither me nor Zoe are fans of inverts, really.
Nope.
They just don't do anything for me. I don't know. It's quite sad. I kind of wish they did, but
Yeah. I don't know. It's something about the whole, sitting in the seat with the big restraint on and you can't see anything and you just feel like you're in a cage just going around. And the whole time it's just like intense. And I don't like that when it's like, I don't know what it's called, but that feeling when it's just like really intense and you're basically like clinging on because it's like so intense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And it's that the whole way around and it's just not fun.
Yeah. It is a well done ride though. I mean, the interaction with the terrain is sublime, and the kind of the dispatch audio and the lift hill theming and the theming throughout the whole thing is very, very well done. It's
I would say it's the best invert I've ever been on.
Yeah, I'd say Nemesis probably has a slightly better layout, but I'm kind of a fan of the more theatrical sense that Black Mamba has compared to Nemesis. Just the station and dispatching out of the station was very, very cool, I felt.
And how old is that ride?
2006, so 12.
So that's still pretty, like, decent to say was made 12 years ago.
So right.
Still, like, up there in terms of theming and, like, the whole experience type thing.
They redid the theme, some of the rocks earlier this year. Heavily. That's what it looks in its best condition probably now.
Thing is, I remember when I went, what was it, 5 years ago?
Something like that.
And that ride, like, proper scared me. I didn't go on it. But because of, like, the whole theming and, like, I was like, oh no, I'm not going in that station with all that music going on and stuff like that. It's impressive.
It is an impressive ride.
Just not for us.
No. I mean, it has force. It has some nice elements. The Junior Immelman's pretty cool, where you don't do a full inversion. You just kind of whip around and in between some of the rocks. The second half of the layout is kind of helix-centric, where you just kind of go round and round in different helix sections through the rocks, lower and higher, which is a bit kind of repetitive, but the fact that you can kind of see that you're passing between these rock faces really closely is very cool.
Yeah.
And just like Nemesis, I'd say, if you're a person who doesn't really care about the force that much, the prolonged force, riding on the front makes a world of difference. Just the fact that Nemesis is all about the terrain interaction. Being on the front, you get all of the near miss elements. Unfortunately, we didn't ride Black Mamba on the front, but I imagine it's very much the same.
Well, we did it second row, and it was much better than when we did it near the back.
Yes.
Because you could still kind of see, like, a bit more.
Yeah, you could see much more, which was very cool.
Makes it more interesting.
It does. It does.
Because when I'm at the back, I can't see anything, so I'm just staring at the seat in front, like, going, ow, ow, like, it's too intense.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're at the front, you're like, oh my god, we're going to hit the rock. There's other stuff to think about rather than just, this ride's way too intense for me.
Yeah. The The operations on Black Mamba when we were there were a bit iffy. Sometimes they were good, sometimes they were bad. I thought it was running on one train for a good like half an hour while we were trying to get footage, just because the dispatches were so slow. Then we got into the station to find that it was on 2 trains,
Yep.
and the dispatches were Nemesis Inferno level bad, which is not good. But then when we got on the ride, we were dispatched quite quickly, so
To be fair to them, we didn't queue that long though.
no, it wasn't too
So it
bad.
wasn't like we were waiting in a long queue because of the dispatch was slow.
No, but I don't know why it was so slow, especially on an invert when most parks can get them out relatively quickly, and
Well,
even Black Mamba was at some point. So
Yeah, it could have been walk on like Nemesis normally is.
yeah, no, it
If
should
they'd
have
have
been
just,
walk on,
yeah.
but I don't know why it wasn't.
And then maybe we would have gone on front row.
Yeah, well, maybe the front row queue on that's too big for some reason.
Yes.
I hate it when they make queues so
I know.
long. Just have it split off right at the end. Don't make a massive path because then people fill it, and
Yeah.
that's just annoying. If you have a smaller path, then people won't fill it. But yeah, it's a solid invert. I imagine you can't really take our word for it just because we don't really care. To put it bluntly, I rank coasters on how fun they are, and inverts aren't fun for me. I can appreciate them. I can appreciate the fact that they're well done, good rides and quality rides, and they soak up people, and they're well designed, but they're just not fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, though, Winch's Fear and Force, those are fun
Yes.
coasters. And spicy opinion is that we probably enjoyed those more than Black Mamba.
Definitely.
Just because spinning
They're
coasters
so
are
cool
fun.
though.
Yes.
Those
they are.
ones.
Go on, tell us about them.
Oh, I don't know what it's called, but basically it just does some like magic stuff halfway through. And it's like, so you're just going along on a spinny coaster and then it just stops you, and then you just like twist around onto your side and it joins a new track and then you go down. So I don't know what it's called, but it's magic.
Yeah, they've got several trick track elements, and the rides are pretty old now, so I don't think it's bad if we spoil them. But yeah, there's several trick track elements. You start the ride off with a vertical, well, not vertical, but a elevator lift hill, so you just go straight up. Then on both, do you tilt forwards on both of them?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so you tilt forwards a bit, join the track, and then just kind of dive towards the ground, which is very cool. Our first ride we got on it, we didn't spin at all. No, it was
That was
really
weird, wasn't
weird.
it?
Yeah, but
It was
then-
kind of cool though, because we were
really.
just like on a normal coat, you know?
Yeah, but the whole point is that you're spinning.
Yeah, but it was cool to ride it without the spin, I think.
I wasn't a fan.
You like a spin.
Yeah, so that was Force that we didn't get any spinning on. And then we rode again on Fear, the same people in the same orientation, and we were spinning like mad through the flat kind of hairpin turns, kind of like the wild mouse turns, which I thought were going to be quite boring, but they ended up being quite interesting, especially when the spinning was that kind of intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fear is definitely the better of the two.
Yeah, but
But-
we did say that Force has the better trick track thingies.
Yeah, Fear has a weird trick track where you're kind of going quite quickly. You go up this slight incline and it just stops you, and then you tilt like a seesaw the other way, and it releases you again, which is a
So
really
random.
weird. Yeah, it's so weird and random. It's like, why? Whereas Force has a trick track where it stops you and then tilts you sideways
Yeah.
and it releases you again. And that one's much cooler than the kind of seesaw element.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, neither of them have the best layout of spinning coasters out there, but they're just fun rides, and the trick track elements really help to make them unique.
And also the whole building of them both being like intertwining, and the helix bit where it goes around, because the building's basically a circle.
Yeah.
So on the inside you can walk around, there's a little flat ride in the middle, and then the helix goes around like in the inside and you can see everyone on the ride, so that's really cool.
It is. It's some nice interaction between, people on the ride, people off the ride, and even people on each side.
Yeah. Theming's a bit creepy.
Yeah, the theming compared to some of the other rides at the park is meh. The queue lines are pretty crap.
They should just re-theme, keep the rides the exact same, just re-theme to something a bit newer,
Potentially.
because they had a lot of like just like walls and stuff made out of, I don't know what it is, like basically cement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they've painted it, and it just looks really dated because, like, I don't know when it was made, but it was ages ago. And if they just took it out and like changed it up a little bit, I think it would look really good.
It could do with some updating, definitely.
Yeah.
But, at least the rides are solid. The theming isn't bad, it's just not up to...
Yeah. Their proper standards.
Not up to their standards. I was going to say not up to Lego standards, but that's an inside joke. Yeah, it's just not up to Phantasialand standards, which is fair enough, because 2002,
Yeah.
it's an older ride.
We know they can do better, though, so...
We know they can do better.
Get on that, yeah.
Yeah, get on it.
I actually really like those Whinger ones.
Yeah, they're good. Really, really solid rides. It's a shame that no other marathon spinning coasters have the trick track elements.
Yeah, why? Because, like, spinning coasters are basically boring, aren't they?
No.
Well, they're not boring, but, like, you just like, oh, it's a spinning coaster. But then if you have a trick track thingy on it, it's like, wow.
Oh, the final trick track, which is the most obscure and really kind of pointless one, but it's so cool at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
You think the ride is over, and then you're on the brake run. Well, you come to the bit where you kind of go from off-axis to in line with the track, so the one that kind of puts you along parallel to the track again, so you're facing the right direction.
Yeah.
Then you turn the corner, then you go onto this like flat section of track, you bob down very briefly, and then come straight back up, like a little, kind of like a bunny hop, but downwards.
Yeah, the other way.
Yeah, it's so
It's
bizarre.
Cool.
It is very cool.
It
but
kind
it's
of
so
feels
bizarre.
like you're in a boat kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just this little bob, and then that's
But
it.
it's so surprising because you're like, oh, we're done with the ride now. Cool, that was amazing. And then
Yeah.
you just go bloop, and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it was
What is happening?
very odd.
Now it's time to talk about Taron, the ride that we, how do you say this? We were most excited for. And now we're just going to disappoint people, aren't we?
Not really.
We are and we aren't. Basically, we loved it, right? But then some things just didn't live up to the hype, you know?
Yeah.
Basically, I don't like it when people big up rides and say they're so great. And it's like, they're so great to some people. And other people are going to have different opinions about, everything, like the theming and whatever. So, I don't know, I just kind of wanted Taron to be, like, great. And then, obviously, because in my head it was great, when I actually went on it, it was a bit of a letdown.
Was it a letdown, though? Or were kind of aspects of it just a letdown?
Yeah. But what I mean is, in my head, it was, like, the best ride.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And when I went on it, it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's not saying it's, like, rubbish.
No.
I'm saying it's basically number 2.
With number 1.
Helix.
Yeah, so this is the hard topic of discussion. So let's forget Helix for a moment.
Yeah, but Helix ruined my life, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I know. Forgetting Helix for a moment, though. Taron,
Forget Helix exists. Taron is, like, the best ride in the world.
no, you
Yeah.
can't just make a bold statement
yeah.
like that. Anyway, Taron, yeah, it's really, really good ride. It's got some good launches. It's got some really snappy transitions. It's got some good airtime. Not great airtime, good airtime. It's got some great force to it. There was definitely moments where when I didn't hold on, I was just getting completely thrown about, which is fantastic. Exactly what I want to see. The interaction with the buildings and the whole area of Kloikheim, as well as itself, was sublime. The theming was really great. And just a note on the theming, the rocks are actually the least impressive part of Kloikheim.
Yeah. This is the thing that I mean, like, everybody bigged up the rocks, but then when we got there, it was like, yeah, but the best theming is, like, all the other stuff.
Yeah. The rocks are just quantity rather than quality, whereas the rest of it
There's
is
so
very
many
much quality.
Details of, like, little,
Yeah.
like, wooden buckets and stuff, like, going on.
Yeah.
Just tiny details.
I have to say, the rocks don't look as impressive in real life. When you look at them closely, that is. Looking at them from afar, this massive wall of rock is very, very cool.
Yeah.
But then you look a bit closer, and you go, oh right, it's shaped kind of weirdly, and the textures are odd.
Not quite on point, you know.
No, but again, the quantity of it kind of really helps to create a different
A
world.
world, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's overall it's a very, very solid coaster that has most of everything. I say most because it doesn't have everything I'd like for a coaster to have, unfortunately. It doesn't have inversions, and I know people say that Taron doesn't need inversions to be good, but I think that well-placed inversions can really do wonders for a coaster.
Yeah.
And I feel like Taron being so compact and being so the layout so intertwined, inversions could have really helped some of the elements to kind of make them feel a bit more speedy and make them feel a bit faster. So yeah, I don't think inversions would have been a bad choice. People say that you don't need inversions, and it's true. You can design roller coasters without inversions, and they can still be fantastic. Taron's a great example, but
Well, it's like personal preference, isn't it? You'd like an inversion in there.
yeah. And then the launches were pretty good. They're LSM launches, obviously, Intamin's LSM launches. They're way better than Max LSM launches. Well, better, not way better. Honestly, they didn't really pack as much of a punch as I was expecting them to. People really raved on about the second launch, and we got to it, and by far the most impressive bit of the second launch is the sound.
Yeah, it is the sound.
So
It like fools you into thinking that the launch is better than it is. Imagine if it didn't have that sound.
well, this is it. What I said other companies should do is record the noise that Taron makes and just play it for a launch.
Yeah.
Get Helix, put speakers along the launch, play
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That
It would make
great.
it feel more intense.
Exactly.
But the launches are still pretty cool. I'm a
Yeah.
fan of launches, and Tarons are better than the Mac ones and better than other launches out there. So it's not a bad thing. The restraints on the ride are fantastic.
Yeah, the restraints, I have to say, was so comfortable.
Probably the best that I've done.
Yeah. And also, another thing is their baggage thing is amazing. Somebody's got it right because it's separate. So there's like a loading bit, and then the offloading bit, you walk around to the back of the loading bit to get your bags. So there's no like, you know, people crossing over to like put the bags in while they're getting off, and it's all like separate, so it's just easier to get on and off.
Yeah, and they have individual compartments for each of the trains.
Yeah.
So they open and close doors depending on what train it is.
Yeah.
Which means that no one's going to steal your stuff, which is great.
Just something about having a good baggage thing just makes the ride
Better.
I don't know why. I think because
Yeah.
you getting on, like, if you've got a stupid bagging system, it just kind of like breaks the whole
Yeah.
excitement of getting on it.
I really like separate onload and offload stations as well.
Yeah, same.
There's something about getting into an empty train that's kind of nicer.
Because it's kind of like it's waiting for you.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, that guy just sat in there.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. And the trains are very cool.
Yeah, they are.
They're themed fantastically. And
Well, the whole
they
theme
look
is
awesome.
just like insane, isn't it?
yeah. It's very well done. I've got to say, very, very well done.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. We're not putting it down.
No,
It's insane. We're just
Yeah, no.
saying Helix threw a spanner in the works, basically.
It did because, well, this is a whole point of how you hype up rides can really make a difference to
Yeah.
how you kind of feel after you get off them.
Yep.
So I really de-hyped Helix, and I was like, everyone says this is fantastic. My experience of similar coasters says it's not going to be that great. Got on it, blew me away.
Yeah.
Taron, everyone said it was fantastic. I had no examples to base it on. You know, we'd been on no Intamin launch coasters of a similar nature before.
Mm-hmm.
So we really didn't know what to expect. So we had to go with what people said. And what people said was partially right. But then other parts were,
It was
partially
80%
wrong.
right.
yeah. But it just didn't blow us away like Helix did.
Yeah.
And I've got to say that Helix has the better layout and the better pacing, really.
And we did do a fair test because we rode them both like straight away in the day. So it's
Yeah.
not like we went on Helix when it was all warmed up and then we didn't go on Taron when it was warmed up. We went on it at exactly the same point of like the day.
Yeah.
And just something about Helix.
There is Helix
Don't
is
know what it is.
it's just a very well designed coaster.
Yeah.
The elements really feel perfect, and the way that it makes its way down the hillside is great. Taron has some of those elements. Some of the elements really feel solid, and they feel like they're very well placed and very interesting. Other elements don't feel as great. What Taron has, which Helix doesn't, and other Mack launch coasters doesn't, is a sense of speed. I feel like Taron really carries its speed.
Mm.
You always feel like you're going fast, which
Except when they put the flipping brakes on at that
Yeah.
last bit.
See, this is what I've said to other people now is if Taron didn't have the trims on the final 2 airtime hills, it would be better than Helix
Yeah.
for me.
Why did they do that?
But the fact that they trim it and completely
You just
obliterate all the
lose
airtime
everything, don't you?
ruins it.
And
it ruins it.
And also the pacing is wrong.
Yeah, no, it's just
'Cause
wrong.
every time we went on, I was like, why are we like slowing down?
I know.
Like, what's going on?
It's so frustrating because Taron, I mean, you can argue that it lacks an inversion, and people saying that it doesn't is fine, that's fine. But
Mhm.
you can't argue against the fact that Taron lacks strong, fantastic airtime,
Yeah.
in my opinion. There's no element of airtime on Taron that makes you go, whoa,
Yeah.
Whereas Helix has a few of those elements. If Taron had the final 2 airtime hills with proper ejector, like it would be without the trims, it would give you that airtime that you miss,
Yeah.
and it would very much round off the entire experience. What a great way to end the ride with ejector airtime rather than being slowed down and going around a corner.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
so frustrating to ride such a great ride, and the second half of the layout packs such a punch, and then you slow down and you're like, oh, this is it, we're done.
Yeah.
It's
I don't understand that because, like you say, literally, if it had those airtime hills, no problem.
Yeah,
Beats
no
Helix
problem.
straight away.
Yeah, it's just
Because also, if we're going by my thing of like how much I scream on a ride is how good it is, I screamed way more on Helix. Like, way more. That doesn't mean like Taron's bad, because I did scream, but it was more like on Taron I wasn't having as much fun. Like, I knew in my head it was a really good ride, and I was like, wow, that was cool. But it wasn't like, oh my god, like I have to scream kind of thing.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Helix was just more fun, and like, I don't know, it just got me where Taron didn't.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a fact that Helix's layout never kind of gives up. It's always well done and well paced.
Yeah.
Whereas the first half of Taron, well, I'd say the first quarter, great. The second quarter, meh, compared to the others. And then the second half, excluding the end, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of spike high, drop down for a bit, enter the second launch, straight back up, And
Yeah.
if you didn't have that middle bit and it was a bit more interesting, and that's why I feel like if you were to put an inversion in one of the slower twisty bits, it would ramp up the thrill factor, because you're going slow, but now you're going slow upside down.
Yeah.
More interesting, So
Yeah, like on the end of Helix when you do the is it a corkscrew?
the heartline roll, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, that bit would be really boring if you were just going along.
Yeah, of course. So whack one of those in. But it is a really impressive coaster to look at and to watch.
Yeah.
The layout is incredibly intertwined, and I don't know how they designed it. I'd love to know the design process of not only how they made the layout, but whether they built the layout around the rocks or the rocks around the layout, or a bit
Yeah.
of both. It's stupid. It's just crazy. The amount of track in such a tight space and the amount of times it crosses over itself, absolutely insane. It's a quality coaster. Really quality.
I can see why so many people just love it.
Yeah, easily. It's a very enjoyable and lovable coaster, and
Yeah.
re-rideable one. It's a shame that we didn't get more rides on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. So, but man, yeah, it's still a tough one. I'm Zoe's made the decision about Helix being better than Terran. I
Well,
have
it's
yet
just
to make the decision.
personal preference that I like the airtime, and I love Helix's like first drop. It's
Yeah,
just like little things that push it over Terran.
yeah.
They're very like similar in terms of, the whole thing, but there's just little things in Helix that just make it slightly better just for me.
I wouldn't say that they're that similar, really.
No,
In
but I
terms
mean
of
they're similar in terms of my top 5 or whatever.
yeah.
They're
They're very,
similar
very
in
close.
ranking is
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah. See, right now they're both like 2 for me,
Yeah.
joint second, but that's not good enough. You got to make a decision.
We're not having that.
No, you can't have the joint second.
No.
Um,
We'll come back to this topic when we talk about the Twitter poll because
yes,
there was a lot of opinions that might kind of like sway your decision.
yeah. But just before we leave Terran, Klugheim as an area is very, very well done.
Yeah.
Just overall, like, all of the sections of the park are very multi-layered, and there's so many different paths and layers to the paths that kind of create a 3D.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of like one of those pop-up card thingies.
Yeah,
Instead of being like a piece of paper, it's like a 3D pop-up thing, when it's all cut out and stuff.
yeah. So all of the paths are on different levels, and that kind of they need to do it because the park's so small, and that adds multiple ways to get around. But I think it really helps the different areas, and Klugheim as well. There's a path that runs alongside of the area, which gives fantastic views of the coaster, like very, very good views. And you could easily watch Terran all day, especially when it's dueling. It's just awesome.
Although Black Mamba didn't have many viewing points, did it?
Well, no, because most of Black Mamba is below the ground. At least the viewing points it did have were very obvious.
Yeah.
I feel like the ones it did have were well done and interesting. But yeah, you can't get much footage of that coaster without going to quite large. What's the word?
Extremes.
Yeah, extremes. That's the one.
Yeah. I think how the paths are like all different levels, it helps to, because everything's so close, but all the areas kind of like, they're done really well where it's like, yeah, that's the end of this one now. Because of the kind of levels, you get it kind of closed in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all like little pockets of like different worlds instead of like, slowly fades into the next one and then you can see some of the other bit and it just ruins it. It's kind of like when you're in one bit, that's all you can kind of see. Do you know what I mean?
I disagree.
Would you?
Yeah, I don't really. Some of the areas are too small for their own good, and they don't blend enough.
You want them to blend?
Yeah, when areas blend,
No.
you have to have a seamless transition,
No.
and some of the transitions are quite jarring.
Yeah, I like that.
No, you can't have some sort of pseudo Wild West area right next to a Chinese area, because that's what it is, and there's no blending. It's just kind of, here's Wild West, here's Chinese, done. And then this Chinese area is really small and doesn't really have much going on.
Yeah,
I'm
the
like,
Chinese area was
okay.
small. But how would you blend?
But you can't.
That's what I mean.
The problem is, no, you can. Other parks do it. Gardaland does it well, where they have a Wild West area next to the space theme of Oblivion, and it blends seamlessly. But
how are you blending?
you need space to blend, right? And Phantasialand doesn't have it. And that's the problem. The park is too small for its own good.
No, I like it.
I feel like if it was a bit bigger, it would be better. Honestly, it's there just isn't much space with nothing going on.
I know what you
And
mean, but I kind of like the fact that it's so busy.
I don't, honestly.
It's because you're so used to Alton Towers, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm more used to like Thorpe Park, which is a bit more compact than Alton
It's
Towers.
true. I like some of the areas to be a bit more chill, but with everything on top of each other and everything so built up, you don't really get that.
Yeah.
But that's not really the park's fault. They do the best with what they've got, and having the multiple layers really helps to make the park
Give
feel
some more
bigger than it
space,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I'm not a fan of some of the areas, the way that they kind of just stop. Other areas are more well done. the exits into and out of Klugheim are quite seamless, really. They're
Mm.
pretty well done. And it seems like the newer areas are done to a better kind of extent.
So we did rides that weren't coasters. We didn't go on River Quest, which is one where you get really wet, apparently. So
That's why we didn't want to go on it.
yeah,
It being September and a day that wasn't extremely warm.
yeah, it did look good, but we went on Chia Pass because that wasn't as wet. Which is like, I don't know what it is, some kind of log flume with some fancy stuff going on.
It's like a glorified log flume, isn't it?
Mm.
A next generation log flume.
But we don't. Are we ruining it or not?
There's not much to ruin about it, really, is
Okay.
there?
It's basically a normal log flume, but then there's a bit where you go into a tunnel and it turns you around. So then you're going backwards.
You know that normal log flumes do that as well, right?
Where?
No, honestly, like normal log flumes go back. Some of them go backward.
But they don't have the turntable, do they?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Alright, well, it's nothing special, guys. Don't worry.
The only special thing about it is the drop in reality.
Oh, okay.
The
well,
other
then
stuff
it's
has been done
fine.
before.
Hmm. Yeah, I've never been on one of them before.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
Okay. Well, it was a good one.
Yeah, it was. I didn't feel like it was too boring or it ever got too boring. Log flumes can get too boring when there's just nothing to see.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of lazily going along this weird river thing. But no, I felt like Chiapas or however you say it. I just said the same thing twice.
You did, yeah.
I'm trying. How do you say
With
it?
a longer S. Chiapas.
Chiapas.
Yeah, it must be Chiapas. I don't know.
Chiapas. Anyway, Chiapas. Whatever.
Just ignore our pronunciation of everything.
Yeah, it is a very good ride. I'd say it's one of my probably favourite log flumes out there, just because of the theming on it, the effects on it, the transitions on it, and obviously the disco room, which is by far the best scene on that ride.
That's very good.
It's just funny,
Yep.
funny to watch. And as Zoe said, you don't get too wet on it. Your feet get absolutely soaked, which is very annoying. But generally, you don't really get too wet. But they can lower or raise the water levels depending on how hot it is. So I think that's a great thing to do, really.
Yeah. Well, because I would have wanted to go on River Quest, but I didn't want to get wet. So it's like, I want to go on it, but I don't want to get too wet because it's freezing cold. So
Yeah, exactly. But the most impressive part of Chia Pass is by far the huge drop, which, you know, is quite a symbol of Phantasialand now, and the Mexico area. The whole area which Chia Pass lives in is very, very well done. It's a very cool area, honestly. It just looks very good, and the interaction with the area and the log flume is very visible to everyone, so you can just kind of watch it. The drop goes under one of the bridges, which is very cool. It's a huge drop, which is what makes it kind of next generation log flume. The fact that it goes down this steep drop into kind of an airtime hill. Doesn't really give any airtime though. It's just kind of like a bunny hill. And then it splashes down. And yeah, no, it's very cool. Very cool. You said in the vlog that you didn't really like it.
Chiapas.
Yeah?
Well, it's just wet in it. Why? What did I say in the vlog?
You said you weren't a fan?
Well, like, it's fine, you know? I don't know, it just didn't... I don't know what it is. You know I like log flumes, but...
It's just a log flume.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When you said it was like next gen, I was expecting something crazy, but it was just basically a log flume.
Well,
I don't know, it was good, but I wasn't feeling it. Partially because I didn't want to get wet.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good addition though.
Yeah, you gotta have one.
Yeah. One thing that isn't so great about Chia Pass is the boats. The boats are difficult to get in and out of. The
Yeah.
restraints are pretty clumsy as well. And they're just not even that comfortable.
I think that's another thing that kind of put me off because I couldn't really put my feet anywhere properly. Like, on log flumes when you can put your feet in the side holes.
Yeah,
I couldn't get them in there and my feet were getting wet and I was just uncomfortable. And then when we were going down the drop, it was like, where am I going to hold on? It's just weird.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very weird boat. It looks cool and they're nicely well themed, but the design of the boats are a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Something you rode, well, the only thing you rode when you came to Phantasialand for the first time was Mystery Castle.
Yes.
So, talk us through it. What did you remember from your first visit?
I remember basically, because I didn't want to go on anything, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna go like in here. It's basically like a maze type, where you just walk through and there's theming." So that's what
Mhm.
they told me about it, and I was like, "Cool, okay." Got a bit freaked out because the dude jumped out at me, and then we went into this room, with all these like proper theme park seats going on around the walls, and I was like, "This is a ride, guys, isn't it?" And they made me sit down, and then the ride happened, and I literally cried the whole time. So I don't know, because I obviously hated it back then, but when we went on this time, I was like, that was crazy.
It was very cool, definitely.
Are we gonna spoil it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Are we gonna
What's
spoil
to
it? Yeah.
spoil?
Well, you said about people don't know what happens inside or whatever.
Well, I guess most people do. It's. Well, I don't know.
Because didn't you not know about some
Well,
things?
I knew what it was. The only thing I didn't know was what cycle it had. That was all.
Oh. Okay, well, it's basically a fancy drop tower, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
A very good drop tower.
It's 1998. Okay, that's fine.
Really?
Yeah, it's a shot tower drop tower combo. So you get shot up and then you get dropped down, and it's got a nice theatrical cycle. I think it's pretty cool the way that it does it, and the getting shot up is great, and it doesn't just drop you, it throws you down, which is also fantastic.
Yeah. And also, it's got all those lights going on, so it kind of seems like you're going further than you are.
It's got strobes and all that. It's very cool. I think it's a really interesting way to do a drop tower, to enclose it all and have it all indoors.
Yeah. And also the fact that you can see all the other people, because normally on a drop tower you're facing out,
Yeah,
whereas this time you're facing in, so you can see like everybody else going up and down as well, and it makes it cooler.
it does. I agree. It's a very interesting ride. I think we loved it. It was one of our favorites.
Yeah.
Went on it twice, and it has some nice theming going into the queue line, as I said. It wasn't fantastic, but
For a drop tower, it was pretty.
yeah, it's
pretty
all old
insane.
stuff. So yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, solid ride. I think it's a very interesting way to do it.
Mm.
And that takes us to another very solid flat ride, and that's Talakan, which is the Huss top spin. Wow, Talakan is another, again, very theatrical kind of ride. It matches its cycle to some audio and to the effects, the fire effects,
Mm.
and that kind of just enhances it completely.
There was like more people watching it than going on it,
Yeah,
because it's so cool to watch.
yeah, it is very, very cool to watch. The way they've set it up, the way that it's kind of enclosed, but then the front's open, and they've got fire right in front of the ride. When you're on the ride, you really feel the heat.
Do
I
you?
imagine, yeah. I imagine you feel it off ride as well. But not only is it very cool to watch, to ride, the cycle really gets extreme. It just keeps flipping you over and over and over, and man, it's intense.
It's
It's
literally
so
my
cool.
worst nightmare.
It is so cool. Yeah, man, it blew me away. Really, I didn't expect it to be kind of that cool. And that theatrical, the audio that's going on with it, I think really helps as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a fun ride and such a solid flat ride. It's a really great way to make a flat ride even better.
Yeah.
Is to kind of add all of these extra elements to it.
They are actually pretty good at doing like flat rides in a way that's kind of like it is a coaster.
Yeah,
You know
to
what I
give it a
mean?
more detail, more depth.
Yeah,
than-
like they both had pretty good stories and like effects and actual like stuff going on, as opposed to just here's a flat ride. It's kind of got a theme, but we don't really care about it. It was like, this is the theme, and we're really going for it with this one.
What's not so cool is Mouse au Chocolat, or however you say that. That ride is too long for its own good. Suffers from the same thing Temple of the Nighthawk does. Too long.
Too long and like boring.
Yeah, it's it's bad when all the screen sections are like the worst part of the ride,
Yeah.
because it's a dark ride shooter, but the shooting sections are 3D screens, so you kind of mosey about this. I was gonna say house, but more like this factory. Then you stop, watch screens, shoot mice. Then you move on to the next screen, stop, shoot mice,
And
whatever.
repeat for about 5 hours.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know how many scenes exactly, but there must be between 8 and 10
Yeah.
scenes. It just keeps going. You think, all right, this is the fourth, fifth scene now. Next one, it's got to be the last one.
Yeah.
Why would they make a ride so long? Nope, keeps going. Just
Thing
keeps
is,
going.
with the shooty ones, it's fine when it's something like Jewel because you're going around and stuff's going past you and it's interesting. Like you could just sit
Yeah.
on Jewel and not shoot. But when it's something like that where you're just facing the screen and shooting the screen.
You have to shoot, otherwise it's boring.
Yeah. But
And that's wrong.
also it's basically Ratatouille at Paris, but like the worst version. Do you know what
Not
I mean?
really. It's nothing like Ratatouille.
No, but it's the same like basic
no
idea, innit?
No.
It gave me vibes.
Ratatouille is a proper dark ride where it utilizes screens to
Yeah, that's what I mean.
be able to tell more of a story.
Yeah, this is like
Whereas-
the worst version of that.
Whereas the Mouse au Chocolat just uses screens to be
No,
able
but they
to
were
shoot.
trying to do what Ratatouille does when
No, they weren't.
you travelled from each room. There was like all theming of like, you know, the factory, and it was like, oh, we're a little mouse in a factory.
I don't think it's anything I like, really. I don't know, other than the fact that just they both use screens, but Mouse au Chocolat isn't trying to tell a story. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah,
Making
but
you
this
shoot
is what
stuff.
I mean. Is it's like the most basic, boring version of what Ratatouille does.
okay.
Okay,
It's
we'll
just a
just
dark
delete
ride, isn't
that
it?
whole thing.
No, it's fine. It's just a dark ride.
Yeah, but
They all
it's
do that.
the same, like, kind of theme vibe thing going on. Don't worry.
I don't think so. Anyway, no, bad. Not very good. It's not bad. Like, the theming in the queue line was cool, and the theming on the ride that wasn't the screens was cool. It was just the screens that were boring.
And there's too many screens.
Way too many. We didn't really try any of the other quirky dark rides at the park, you know, like Hollywood, whatever it is. We didn't want to I wouldn't say
Waste our time.
Yeah, we didn't want to waste our time, but we kind of just wanted to film stuff and just take
Well,
it
we
more
wanted to get
relaxed.
back on Taron, basically.
Yeah, as well. So we've got plenty of stuff to do next time we visit the park, like River Quest and the quirky dark rides, and even Fly when that opens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a very cool park overall. It's got a lot going for it. I'd say it needs some more stuff to be a bit more fully fledged.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like the park has a decent collection of stuff, but fortunately, what I think it needs, which is another thrill coaster, it's getting in the form of Fly, a launched flying coaster next year, probably. Which is great because the park really only has 2 thrilling coasters, Black Mamba and Taron.
Mm.
And those are good. I mean, they're 2 additions, 2 solid coasters, but realistically, to have a park that's well-rounded, you kind of need more
Yeah.
thrill coasters.
You need at least 3, I'd say.
I feel like the park has enough other coasters.
Yeah.
They've got, you know, family coasters, and that's great. They've got enough of those.
And they've got enough, like, dark rides and flat rides. They're
Well-
just missing another big thing.
Yeah, the big thing, and that's what they need.
Yeah.
Alex asked the question, what do you think should be the next investment after Fly? It's difficult to say because we didn't really ride everything, but
The next investment is get rid of Temple of the Nighthawk and literally replace it with anything you like.
I feel like a proper dark ride, a proper solid dark ride, would be a great addition, a large scale, something like Symbolica, the Efteling, you know?
What's that?
Not a shooty dark ride, it's like Ratatouille.
Yeah, they need a new... Yeah, I was going to say something like Ratatouille
Yeah,
would be really cool.
perfect, that would be great. Or another large scale flat ride I think would do well also, something like Talakan, but a different, obviously, model.
Yeah.
One of those 2 things would be great additions.
But couldn't you get both of those in there? In that space?
Yeah, what, Temple of Nighthawk? Yeah, you
Yeah.
probably could. But yeah, moving forwards, I think, coaster, then dark ride, and flat ride. Those three things would really round off the park even more. And it's already a solid park, as we said, but every park has flaws and needs some stuff, and that's what I feel and we feel that Phantasialand needs.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're onto it.
Yes.
They know what they're doing.
They do. It seems like they know what they're doing, and they always seem to be developing, so it's pretty cool. And to finally round off our general feelings of the park, Christopher asks, which is your favourite Phantasialand dragon? Drago, I'm going to butcher these pronunciations.
Yep.
Croaker, Feeny, Quetzal, Schneck, or Wang? We only saw two. Well, three.
Did
right?
we? I only saw one.
No, we saw the fat one,
Which one's that?
the plump one. You remember?
Where was it?
Like Black Mamba, wasn't it?
I don't remember that.
We saw three. Two,
Okay.
really. We saw the head of the other one. So we saw the plump one near Black Mamba. We saw the one in Woos Town, near Winges.
Yeah.
And then we saw good old Schneck,
Schneck.
who was
Love
covered
that
with a
name.
curtain on
Bless
the
him.
exit to... Yeah, on the exit to Mystery Castle. And boy, Schneck, what a guy. He's so weird. I'd say Schneck's my favourite.
It's got to be Schneck, really.
Yeah. Partially because of the name and partially because he's a long boy.
Yes.
But
And he's
yeah.
in Mystery Castle, which we also love.
Yes, exactly. He's a very cool guy. The time has come to round off this episode and make a decision.
Well, let me tell you the results of the poll. So, little old Helix got 31% and Taron got 69, which is basically what we thought it was going to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we asked the question, which is the better of the two coasters? And yeah, Taron got more of a percentage. And we felt like that was going to happen because from an outside perspective, if you haven't ridden both, Taron looks more impressive.
Yeah.
But then, as we've said, the actual coaster isn't more impressive.
Mm.
The area, obviously, yeah, by far, but the ride isn't. And that's what makes it so hard to try and decide which is the better one.
This is what I was saying, because they're both better at different things. So it's like if the question was which has the best theming, obviously it's Taron. If the question is like which has the best airtime, I would say it's Helix.
Yeah, easily.
So it's like when you're trying to think about overall which one's better, it's really hard because they both have pluses and minuses that kind of
It is.
basically cancel each other out.
So some of you gave us your thoughts, and we'll start with Team Helix. So Chris said...
Team Helix.
Well, that's what they call it, Team Helix or Team Taron. So is Team Helix. I am Team yet to be decided. But Chris said Helix, 1, that drop out of the station, 2, the inversions, 3, the soundtrack, 4, the airtime. But he says, although Taron does actually have better airtime, which me and Zoe felt was completely wrong.
Yeah.
And then 5, green theming.
Yeah.
I can agree on-
theming.
Yeah, theming, no. The drop out of the station, very cool.
Yes.
The inversion's very cool. The soundtrack,
I love the soundtrack.
both of them are par for me. Helix's one is like cool, but Taron's one is cool but overdone. So yeah.
Airtime is definitely Helix.
Yeah, easily. Helix has sustained ejector on multiple hills. Taron doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So Joel says Helix looks to be the much stronger layout than Taron. I don't think Joel has done either of the two, so that's kind of like a outside
Impartial.
perspective. Yeah, and one that we don't really expect to see. But I definitely agree that Helix does have the much stronger layout than
Yeah.
Taron.
Jammy said, for me, I prefer Helix. I've always preferred variety in a coaster, and Helix delivers on that promise. Good balance of elements and forces, plus the natural setting on that hillside is stunning. Taron was a bit repetitive for me, but still a solid number 2, especially with that theming. I literally agree with everything he said.
I wouldn't say Taron is overly repetitive, but Helix does have such a varied layout,
Mm-hmm.
and it ticks all of the boxes in reality. So, yeah, solid points.
And the setting on the hillside.
It's very cool
is
also.
good.
Insane Coasters says Helix because the layout has much more variety than 4,300 foot of turns. The views also are a lot better than some grey rocks.
Rocks are cool.
Yeah, and Taron has many more near-miss elements than Helix does.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think that near-miss elements are great.
I mean,
so
they're both cool settings for different reasons.
Yes.
So I don't think we can accept that comment.
No. And on Team Taron, Pandy said, whilst Helix has a lot of fun floatiness, which
Agree.
I don't know if it does have.
Yeah, it does.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Taron's rolling launch and intense twists definitely make the ride better. The only dead part of Taron is just before the second launch, whereas Helix just doesn't have as much force in it. Taron also has the better night ride.
Yeah, we can't comment on that because we've only been in the day.
No. Yeah. I wouldn't agree that Helix doesn't have much force in it. I like force.
It has force. Because when I hold my arms up, there's points on Helix where I literally have to hold on because my whole body is being like pressed down.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So,
both have force to it,
yeah.
definitely.
There was a couple of moments on Taron where I had to do the same, but there was more on Helix just because of like the way it moves, I guess.
Yeah. But the dead parts on Taron, I would say, yeah, just before the second launch and coming out of the severely trimmed airtime hills.
Yeah.
Helix's dead moments.
Can't even think of one.
There's the straight section of track after the first inversion leading to the first launch. There's the upwards ascent going towards the end of the ride. So only two as well, I'd say. But every coaster has dead elements just because of the way they're designed.
Yeah.
So it's hard to design a coaster without dead elements. But yeah, so.
Jamie said Taron's got the speed, the whip, the launches, and the theming over Helix, but Helix is very, very close to it.
I can agree with all of those. Taron does feel faster, does have more of a whip, and I would say is more chaotic than Helix is. It does have the better launches and by far has the better theming.
Yeah. This is the problem. Like, on paper, Taron is better. But there's just something about Helix that... Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't even say on paper that Taron's better.
Really?
No. This one makes it so hard. I don't know. Luca says Taron, it has better, faster, more intense launches. The airtime comes out of places you wouldn't normally expect to get airtime, which I agree is true.
Sorry, what airtime?
No, you get, on some of the transitions, you get whipped out of your seat just because of how fast the turns are.
Yeah.
And then the layout feels more out of control, more intense, and it's actually themed instead of just placed on a hillside.
Oh, what a burn.
Oh, man.
What a burn.
The arguments for Taron make me have done more for me.
I know. But, like I said, a lot more people have probably ridden Taron than they've ridden Helix. So we is outnumbered. This is the thing, right? I went into this whole thing thinking, yeah, Taron is going to be my number one. And then Helix just, did something that made me go, that's better. And I don't know why. Because Taron's so good. But there's just something about Helix that's like, gets me.
Yeah. I'm honestly trying my best. Like, my brain is really working hard to try and figure out which is better.
I think this may kill you.
I think it might as well.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Okay, let's do some scenarios. So, okay. We've moved both of them to be like next to each other.
Yeah.
But they're all like the same as they are.
Yeah.
So you can queue up for one of them to ride it. Which ones are going to be?
I choose Taron because I've ridden it less.
Oh no, imagine you've ridden it exactly the same times.
You can't. That doesn't work. Which is, that's the problem. I want to say Taron's better because I want to give it
another go.
I want to give it more of a chance because we've ridden Helix in arguably its best configuration.
Yeah, but if you think about... Okay, this is what I was saying earlier. Think about your first ride on Helix and your first ride on Taron. When you got off Helix, you were like, whoa. And when you got off Taron, you were like, meh.
This is true.
So, I don't know.
Boy.
That's the only fair way to think about it, because that would give them an equal amount of rides.
This hurts so much because I want to like Taron
I know,
better,
same.
but I just don't.
Same. But I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Right then, boys. I think that's it. I think we're
Are
done.
you actually picking Helix?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I have to. You're right. Until we go back to Phantasialand, and
Yeah.
until we get a dark ride on Taron,
It's got to be Helix.
it's got to be. Oh, it hurts so
I
much to
know.
say. It really hurts so much
I
to
would
say.
just like to formally apologise to Aaron for not picking Taron.
Honestly, though, Aaron said that even he thinks Helix looks better than Taron, and he thinks that when he eventually rides
Yeah.
Helix, it'll beat him.
I
It'll beat
think
Taron
it will
him.
for him.
So, Aaron's been right all along. Aaron's been saying for years that Helix is one of the best,
Yeah.
paced coasters out there, and he was precisely correct. So,
Aaron,
well done, Aaron.
is the Messiah.
Yes. There we have it. That's the end of episode 6. We've made our decision.
Team Helix.
Coasterbot Rambles is officially Team Helix. Be sure to tweet us at CBR Podcast. Let us know whether
Which
you think we
team
made
you're
the right
on.
or wrong decision, and what team you're on. Are you hashtag Team Helix
Yeah.
or hashtag Team Taron?
But if you've not been on Helix, I don't want to hear any opinions about it, because you haven't been on the ride, so you don't understand the
Just quickly,
magic that is Helix.
This is true. Just quickly, even though Helix and Taron, are 2 and 3, they are incredibly close.
Yes.
Incredibly close.
Like,
And this is what we're saying.
literally, there's like nothing in it, basically.
Yeah. If we got a ride on Taron where they turn their trims off,
Yeah.
that would easily outdo
Just turn the
Helix.
trims off, let us ride it. No problems.
But neither of the coasters, or neither, however you say that, neither of them did what Kanan did for me, which was give me goosebumps. So
Now,
It's-
Helix gave me goosebumps.
it's a definitive decision that Kanan's still number 1, followed by Helix at number 2, and Taron at number 3. Wow. Anyway,
So I need to rewrite my blog post now,
yeah.
because Wicker Man's out.
Well.
Rip Wicker Man.
Rip indeed. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast.
Yes.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at CBR Podcast, and follow me on Twitter at Coasterbot. What else? Where else can you find us?
You can find us on coasterbot.com/podcast, where you can send us a voice message. In 2 weeks' time, we'll have the episode with Taylor from Coaster Studios, so that one's coming up next. And then we also just need some ideas for things to talk about after that, so
Yes. Be sure to rate us on iTunes as well.
Yes.
Leave a nice comment. Give us a 5-star rating. And
Thanks.
yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for giving me my top 3.
Yeah. Sorry to all the Taron fanboys.